Do you know what? If I could wear one more shirt again, it'd be my Durham University shirt. And I had 4 shoulder reconstructions, 2 groin operations, nearly died on a pitch in South Africa for the Lions. And the great pride I have in the England team that I play with is we beat everyone. You need to be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all. Because there's always an iteration of best. There is only better. Nearly died, unconscious for 17 minutes on a rugby pitch. And Dr. James Robson wearing a Lions shirt. He thought I was dead. They thought I was gone.
Hi, I'm Arthur Dickins, and this is my Rugby Legends podcast. In each episode, I interview an amazing rugby player or coach, get their insight and advice for young rugby players just like me who are keen to learn and get better. In this episode, I'm really excited to be speaking with Will Greenwood, media rugby pundit, England World Cup winner, and 3-time Lions tourist. Will is definitely a legend of the game. Alongside Mike Tyndall, he formed perhaps England's most effective centre partnership for the last 30 years. On the March 2003 World Cup, he played in all but one of England's games and finished the tournament as joint top try scorer. Will played his club rugby at Harlequins and Leicester Tigers, making 250 appearances before retiring in 2006. Since then, Will has been a presenter on Sky Sports, has written for the Daily Telegraph, is a speaker and works with a number of charities. Hope you find Will's knowledge and wisdom as helpful as I did. Enjoy. So firstly, Will, what's keeping you busy at the moment?
What's keeping me busy at the moment? That's such a good question. Well, I retired a long time ago, 20 years, and rugby players now are starting to earn quite a bit of money, but it's not a football or a Formula One or tennis or golf where it's millions of pounds. It's good money. We make a decent living whilst we're playing, but you need to go on and then go find work, go find a job. I was really lucky. I came from the amateur era, so professional rugby wasn't an option for me when I started. So I used to work for a bank called HSBC, and I was a foreign exchange trader in the early 90s and had the best time ever, and left there in 96 to play rugby. And so when I finished, I was really lucky because I'd been through job interviews, I'd understand payroll and HR, and graduate schemes and 5 o'clock alarm calls and into the office, and finish like that. And someone like it catches. I know it sounds strange, but it catches a lot of players, rugby players and professional athletes from all other sports by surprise, because it's such an insulated environment. Professional sport, you really, when you go to training at somewhere like Leicester Tigers or with England, you stay in a 5-star hotel, and all the food's cooked for you. Someone books your train travel. Someone books your plane tickets. Everything's done for you. And then suddenly it's like, right, what do I do now? So having had that experience, I just, what's the best way of putting it? Just started applying for jobs. I started to do some work with Sky on the television stuff. But that wasn't full time. That's only on weekends, right? And I started to write an article every week for the Daily Telegraph. And then over a course of about 2 or 3 years, I found myself working, I know this, in AI way before before it was cool, before anyone even knew what it was. So it is in call centres and AI, that's been my world. I bet you weren't expecting that answer for the last 15 years. So I'm Chief Customer Officer for an artificial intelligence organisation that helps our customers have better conversations with their customers by predicting likely behaviour and therefore pairing agent and customer correctly or better than just leaving it to random chance.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
That's all right.
Who's the most influential teammate in your career, and what did you learn from them?
Most influential teammate in my rugby career? Another great question. I'm going to answer that potentially in 2 ways, if I may. Because he was a teammate of mine, and I did play a season with him, my dad. So my dad was England rugby captain in the 1960s, and then England coach in the 1980s. And I had the pleasure of playing for Preston Grasshoppers, which is in the 4th division, so it's National 2. I had the great pleasure of playing for Preston Grasshoppers with my dad when he would have been approaching his 50th birthday. He had more, like Henry Pollock has a little bit of tape on. My dad looked like an Egyptian, he looked like Tutankhamun, all buried and wrapped up, but he was tough. And I just watched him operate on a rugby field and thought, do you know what? He is 50 years old and he is still the best player on this pitch. He can neither run faster than anyone or lift a heavier weight than anyone on this field. And yet, and it just made me think, and it sort of suited me because I was a skinny beanpole. It was the first time I considered in rugby, there's a really simple phrase that the strong take from the weak, but the smart take from the strong. So there are very different ways you can play rugby. And watching Dad and working with him to understand how to run a drift defence, how to slide and find an inside shoulder, and he was still doing it at 50. So it's like learning the dark arts, the tools of the trade. It's like going to a blacksmith and saying you're wasting your time making a horseshoe like that. There's a much simpler way of doing it, and just understanding from someone who's been at the very top that there's different ways to get from A to B. So that would be from one angle. And then the most influential player I played with, I'm going to tell you the ones I had the most fun with. My Durham University team. And in my first year, 1991 to 1992. And do you know why I still love those boys? Because this is a Friday afternoon chat, right? And in half an hour, I'm getting on, because we all live in different parts of the world now. And in half an hour, I'm getting on a Zoom call with them. And we're going to have a beer together. And we're going to toast good times. And in a very, not to bring this down a little bit, our second row died last year, far too young, Daniel Simpson, Sibbo, the great ginger giant. And we love that lad so much. And we're just getting together to toast him, to remember him. And it's just a reminder of the amazing people you meet playing rugby. And I know the photos behind me are sort of me in an England jersey, but the people I really remember, love, have stayed close to, are still my best friends, are my uni mates, and that would be Benny, Minty, sadly Sibbo not with us, Calman, Kano. We don't have real names. No one has real names, do they? We all have nicknames. Dooney's going to be on the call. And at a time when I was a fresher, which was the first year at university, I joined as a skinny little beanpole fresher. And they were all second and third years, and they spotted something in me, and they gave me a chance. We went all the way to the final. We just got beat in the final by Loughborough, but we had literally, it's the best year I've ever had on a rugby field. So World Cups are great. Lions tours are great. I see those shirts behind you. I see the shirt you're wearing, and I go, oh, I'd love to wear those. But you know what? If I could wear one more shirt again, it'd be my Durham University shirt. And that's why rugby's cool, right? You find different mates in different places.
Yeah, my mum actually went to Loughborough as well.
So we don't call it Loughborough, we call it Luga Baruga. And we had a rude way. They used to call us, it's not a rude word, but they used to call us Oxbridge rejects. Because at Durham, you tended to go to Durham if you failed to get into Oxford and Cambridge. I failed to get into Cambridge. I got straight A's at A-level and they still wouldn't have me. So, but we rather nastily, because we always felt we were a bit, what did we feel at Durham? I'm not even going to say it because we used to say nasty things, but it wasn't rude, by the way. I hasten to add it wasn't rude, but perhaps it will, I'll leave that for another time. I'll leave that for this podcast when you're 21 years old.
And who would you say is better at rugby, you or your dad?
Oh, my dad. Yeah,
Well,
I had four shoulder reconstructions, two groin operations, nearly died on a pitch in South Africa for the Lions.
yes.
Yeah, I genuinely say I know you don't believe this, I had all the luck he didn't. He just snapped his Achilles tendon twice at the wrong time. Unbelievably, in the old days, you kept fit by playing other sports, and he got a squash ball in the eye 3 days before an England-Scotland game as captain, and never played again because he then snapped his Achilles tendon and then broke his leg. He carried on playing until he was 50. He played in Italy in the 70s for 5 or 6 years, led Lazio and Roma to the Italian Championship. Um, he was tough, man, proper tough. So no, he was a thinker, but also could be a muscle man. So he could do it all, my old man. So I reckon he was better. Yeah.
Thank you. And and then reflecting back on your playing career, what did you enjoy most about playing centre?
I enjoyed most about playing centre. It's in. I think. Yeah, props will say they're the most important people because scrums are important. I'll say if you control the midfield, if you can control the gain line, if you can win 6 inches either side of the gain line with every carry, you're 90%. If you're 90% of the time, every time your midfield unit wins gain line, you win the game of rugby. So I loved playing centre because of the challenge of playing against South Africa, where there would be two centres who would be built of concrete, who would run faster than a TGV. The very fast, all the Japanese super train, they're so fast and they're so tough. You play against the Kiwis, who would be built like buildings and be as flexible as an Olympic gymnast. And then you'd play the Aussies, who were just born on a beach and could throw a ball and catch it behind their head when it's pouring down with rain and get out of something that Houdini couldn't get out of. So you had so many different challenges that you came up against. And so what I love variety in life, and I love you kids. You might be 21 years old. I don't know. I apologise for calling you a kid. Um, you kids, you love a hashtag, and what I hear a lot is hashtag beat the game, whatever it is. So I loved playing rugby. I loved being in the midfield for hashtag beat the game. What's the threat today? What's the opportunity? Where are they weak? Where are they strong? Where are we weak? Where are we strong? Where's the best combination of our strength and their weakness? What do we want to avoid? Their strength and our weakness. But where's their weakness? Where's our strength? I'm getting confused myself. But the whole point being is it was a constant challenge at test match level to find a way to stop unbelievable rugby players and find a way to get past unbelievable rugby players. And the great pride I have in the England team that I played with is we beat everyone. Now, we didn't beat everyone all the time, but at some stage, we beat everyone home and away. And that's all you can do in life. You can't. Roger Federer doesn't win every point. Lando Norris doesn't win every race. But can you beat them enough times so you get recognised as number one? And can you beat them enough times in the big tournament that you can forever call yourself a world champion? And that England team, we were tough, but we were clever. It was cool to be in, right?
And then speaking about positions, if you could do your career all over again, what position would you choose to play?
I'd be an accountant. I'm good with. I love numbers. I've just done a maths. I've done a GCSE paper today. In my spare time, I just love doing. If I could do it all over again, I'd be an amateur rugby player. I'd play for Roslyn Park. My shoulders would still be connected. I wouldn't have any metal in my body, and I'd now be a partner at Ernst and Young or something like that, and having a lovely time with a ski chalet in Val d'Isère. As it is, if I could have it all again, he's saying which position would I play? The reality is, there aren't many 6'5" fly halves because you get charged down. Your foot's a lot closer to them than Johnny's is because he's 5'7" or whatever he is. So at my height, 6'4", 6'5". So I'll go two options. One, loved it at fullback, see everything like a general at the back and just understand and move the pawns around to make sure that the battlefield is set up for your ability to strike and score. Or if someone had given me enough protein powders when I was 6 or 7 years old, although I'm not recommending 6 or 7 year olds take protein powders when it's, I should say 16 or 17. I'd love to have played on the back row. I'd love to have followed my old man, played 6 or 8, just run around having fun, being a nuisance.
Good choice. What would you say, what's one skill that you had to work the hardest on as a player?
Oh, it's so multifunctional now. I mean, I'm interpreting struggle as being something you're not very good at, as something you don't necessarily enjoy and don't have a passion for. The lads I've played with will tell you I just didn't enjoy the gym. And now, unbelievably now, I love the gym. Now I can't play rugby, I now love the gym. Then, I just wanted to play. Hands on the ball and run around. Why do we have to go to the gym? Why can't we have another game of touch? Because I had to cover up my weaknesses, my struggles by being forced into the gym to be physically able to play at the highest level. But in my spare time, I just watched tapes and games and played and put myself in as many different difficult positions on a rugby field as possible to understand that could I find a way out of every corner? Could I find a way to a try line against a good team? Could I change the call on a move if it's pouring down with rain and the referee's taken a dislike to us and our winger's gone off because he's pulled his hamstring? Just constantly just playing, either in reality out on a field or in my head. Like even now over there, I've scribbled down a move that I think England could operate and could use now that might just put players in different positions. I'm toying with a different defensive structure. That defence is all about doing things that your opponents don't expect. They expect you to defend a certain way, so don't attack a certain way. So if you can defend in a different capacity, perhaps at the start of a game, they would then think, oh my God, we've done all that research, we've done all our, and what are they doing? So bang, but mitigate the cost of failure. So don't concede a try by being stupid, but put something into place that might get them thinking that they're not going to play the team they were expecting to play. And in the meantime, you've got that backup in case they read it and they find a way around it, and then you can drop back into the system. So my brain, you probably picked up, my brain doesn't sit still. Needs to be quizzing, challenging, testing. The only time it sits still is when I'm asleep.
And then you said when you played, was there any ways you tried to scout the gym or tried to make a shorter gym session?
So Dave Redding, who's the fitness guy for us, who's actually now director of Rugby for Wales, he'd have all sorts of things. He'd have my excuses covered off. Don't worry, I can pick you up. Don't worry, I've got access to another gym. He was always one step ahead of me, unfortunately. And now I look back on it and I go, thank you, because however much you just want to play, you have to go after. You have to try and improve those things in the game of rugby that might be identified as a weakness by the opponents, and you have to try and work on them. Don't over-fixate on your weaknesses. Polish your super strengths. Be your best self. Be the best version of you. Bring you to the game. But don't impact the team's ability to win by being lazy on stuff that teams could then expose you on. So I jest a little bit. By the age of 27, 28, I was getting more used to the gym routine. And because when we won the World Cup, I was 31. So I had a 2-3 year run where I probably trained like I should have trained since I was 17, but I decided to focus when I was 17 to 25 on the puzzle, on the riddle solving side of the game, and then realizing that if I want to get there and lift that trophy behind me, then I have to do a little bit of that work.
That's very helpful. And who would you say
Who
sets the
does
real...
your hair? It's,
Uh,
what look are you going for at the moment?
I don't know, to be honest. It's all over the place.
Yes, my nickname was Shaggy, the cartoon character. Because my hair, like you, always used to be all over the place. So, love it.
Thank you. That's what I was going for.
The drag through a hedge look. Is that the look you're going for?
In the middle.
Yeah.
Who would you say sets the real standards in a team? Coaches or players?
So it's a little bit like the coach v captain dynamic. I look at it like a CEO versus an MD. CEO at 36,000 feet setting the strategy for a business, understanding where we want to be in 4 years. The MD worrying about the next quarter's results and making sure we're selling enough cereal, we've got enough stock, we've got enough new t-shirt, whatever it might be to make sure we keep the lights on in the business. So it's strategy versus execution. It's innovation versus standards. I like this one. It's tomorrow versus today. The coach is always thinking about tomorrow. The captain is thinking about today. You can park next week, Clive. Right now we've got Wales to beat. So if I simplify it like that. And yet at the same time, they had great differences like that. Different roles and different personalities. But they shared a vision, winning a World Cup. They shared standards. Both believed in a code of conduct, in a way of operating. And then when you look at them and break them down, Clive was sort of after... the one similarity, by the way, they had a lot of similarity. The one similarity they both had, they both love their players. And then the captain and the coach has to love the players either he has at his disposal to coach or he's lucky enough to captain. So I could go through that whole topic. The reality is you need both. You need a coach that can take you to places you wouldn't have gone to by yourself. You need a captain that there's a great phrase, you can't hear because his actions are deafening you, because what he is doing is just showcasing brilliance, excellence, consistency, performance. Jono was unbelievable at that. You need a coach to innovate, to try and explore the grey areas, chase after the marginal gains, the 1%ers. And they need a captain who's utterly relentless about driving his team forward and just doing the basics of the game perfectly, or as well as they possibly can on any given day. It's a fascinating topic. That England team would not have won that World Cup without Clive Woodward. That England team would not have won that World Cup without Martin Johnson. I hope that answers your question.
Wow, thank you. What's the difference between players who make it and players who almost do?
And that's a 10,000 word dissertation, that is. You need a bit of luck. I don't like to use the word luck. You need a bit of luck. In rugby, it's a violent sport. Bad stuff happens. An ACL can go, an Achilles can snap, shoulder can dislocate at a young age, playing around with your mate, and you've then got a lifelong weakness that limits your ability to be a two shoulder tackler. So now you can influence that by living like a monastic monk, doing all the training, eating tofu, veggies, white meat, sleeping well, not touching booze. Of course you can reduce your frequency of injury, but in rugby you find me someone who's won a World Cup that hasn't had a general anaesthetic and been in hospital having something repaired. So sometimes there are some great players who people will say, we didn't make it because he didn't have that. And then actually look back at his back catalogue, just somewhere in his career, He picked up something that never allowed him quite to be the person he could have been, which I find really, still, I find that really unfair, and it's harsh, but it's a harsh reality of life. So therefore rugby teaches you a huge amount of resilience. I'm going to go. I've been buying time with that answer a little bit because I believe in it, but I was trying to think in the background. My left brain was working whilst my sort of frontal cortex was talking. You need to be coachable. So you need to be, let me put it this way, you need to be a learn it all, not a know it all. If you think you made it, if you think you're good enough, if you think you're big enough, if you think you're fast enough, if you think you know how to do it, there is no best, because there's always an iteration of best. There is only better. And players who make it, this is totally my humble opinion, players who make it, I think, all buy into the pursuit of better, of doing something better, of finding a better way of doing it, of realising what's good enough to get me here isn't good enough to get me there. They're curious. They don't get spoon-fed and just accept it without asking, why? Could we do it like this? With collision-rich environments where discourse and disagreement is encouraged and not suppressed. Curious, pursuit of better. No, they haven't got there yet. No, they could. They're the people. They're the people. When I look around the teams I played in that did well, I thought they all share that common characteristic.
And then, speaking of injuries, what would you say is the worst injury you've had?
Well, I nearly died, unconscious for 17 minutes on a rugby pitch, and Dr. James Robson wearing a Lions shirt. He thought I was dead. They thought I was gone. I reckon that's pretty serious. The good news is, I don't remember it, because I was just knocked out on a pitch in Bloemfontein playing against Orange Free State. And everyone always said to me, "Oh, you're so brave coming back from that injury." I think people coming back from ACLs or shoulder reconstructions or having their nose splattered across their face, they're brave because they remember it, they felt it. I lost 4 days of my life where I just don't know anything. I was 1 second I was playing on a rugby pitch in South Africa, the next thing, that was in Bloemfontein. The next thing I remember, I'm in Durban watching us win the second test and Jerry Guscott's dropping a goal. It's 4 days, that's 96 hours. I've got no idea. And yet in that time I flew from Bloemfontein to Durban, spent a day in Durban, spoke to my now wife, who I was just my girlfriend then, spoke to her every day, spoke to my pet. Nothing. There is not one. It didn't exist. I didn't live those 4 days. So because I didn't live those and didn't feel the pain or anything or the recovery, actually it was probably, I know it sounds really strange, probably my easiest injury to come back from, because there was no trigger. There was nothing that would remind me, oh, if I go there, this might happen. Because it literally, 1 second I'm playing in Bloemfontein, the next second it's 96 hours later and I'm almost in another country.
And what would you say is the hardest bit about retiring from the game?
I miss the competition. So I've replaced it in different ways. But I miss that Saturday afternoon. Man, every Saturday for 38 weeks of the season, less so, slightly less so now. You trained for something and you got a result. It was a W, it was an L or a D. Yeah, you hated L's, you didn't really like D's, but you loved W's and you wanted more of them. But the good news was, if you got a W, then you have to do it again a week later, otherwise you're a loser. And if you got a lose, you got a week later, you got a chance to correct it. So I loved the constant competition, the constant results, the constant either validation of the work you're doing or reminder that what you're doing isn't good enough. Do it better, faster, stronger, quicker.
Yeah, I love the competition. I've got a game this Sunday and I can't wait for it. Playing the
Who
same.
Are you playing?
We're playing Colchester, which we lost to by one.
Oh, those toe rags from Colchester.
We lost one
Are
try
they
last
good, are
night.
they? What
They're
age group's that?
under 13s. They're very big.
Are they farmers in Colchester?
I think a couple of them are farmers, not
Oh
much of them
yeah,
though.
always. That is, one of them will have a beard. Right, check his passport. Check his passport. I bet he's not 13, but he's like 18, masquerading as a 12-year-old.
Yeah, I can't wait for it.
Get stuck in.
I will. And final question. Who's going to win the Six Nations this year?
But the bookmakers say France. Bookmakers say France. I think it gets decided on Super. I think it's England or France, no question. And partly because I'm not completely discounting Ireland, but because the Six Nations can be really mean to a team one year and really friendly the next year. Because Ireland this year, on the back of the rebuild they're having, have to go to Twickenham, have to go to Paris. Conversely, England, you're like, we've got Wales at home, gives us Ireland at home, Italy away, we're still the only team that Italy haven't beaten. I know Scotland's been a struggle. I just think we go minimum of 3 wins out of 4 to Paris. Ideally, we've won the Calcutta Cup again, even though Scotland have had a monopoly really on winning it the last 10 years. And we go to Paris and it's a Grand Slam decider. There's so much to like about the French. Watching Bordeaux, watching the Toulouse pack, and you sort of, I know it's not the Toulouse pack with the Bordeaux backline, but you could almost imagine, wow, what a team. But I think there's something missing with the French at the moment. I just don't think in a one-off game, there's something missing with them. And let's hope it stays like that.
Hopefully.
And we get over the line. In terms of, because I know you're under 18, so I think if you're looking for value, or you're looking to build an argument and a hypothesis for, and not saying the obvious, which is the favourites are France, I think as an Englishman, as an English supporter, you can build a very strong case, a very strong argument that will have doubters say, well, you could lose on the second weekend in Scotland. There's no way you'll go to Paris and win. I hear that. I'll counter that with the way we're playing, the power, the depth, the speed, the confidence, and I'll say, I think we can get to Paris, if not unbeaten, certainly with enough bonus points to give us the chance that if we beat France, we'll win whether we're unbeaten or not.
Yeah.
That would be my argument.
That's very interesting. Well, I can't wait for the Six Nations. It's one of my favourite tournaments.
Isn't it just the best? Awesome. Well, good luck against Colchester.
Thank you very much, Will. And I just want to say thank you so much for our podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much, Will.
That's all right. So I'm going to ask you some feedback. So, what could I do better? Where could I have been more interesting? What did you like?
I loved it. I loved every minute of it, pretty much.
There must have been one bit where you go, God, he's a bit boring. It's a bit dull. Which bit? So I'll cut it out next time. There must have been. There's always, like I always say, feedback is a gift. I need to be better next time. So which bit do I cut out?
I think everything is brilliant. I think your advice, everything. I think me and the viewers, I think I'll love it.
Well, you're a superstar with everything you're doing. I wish you all the very best. I look forward to you presenting the news at 10 in about 15 years' time. And more importantly, before that, I hope to see you running out for the Tigers, England and the Lions in the very near future. And I get the opportunity to maybe write an article about you and say how awesome you are, or be on the telly and go, did you see him? I spoke to him when he was like 12, 13.
Thank you so much.
Have a happy weekend.
Thank you, you too. Thank you so much, Will.